You're listening to the Becoming Zesty podcast. We are Megan and Dr. Alex, and we're so happy that you're here.
We are passionate about accelerated transformation, yours, ours, and the collective.
Personal and professional for coaches, practitioners, and leaders of all kinds.
Between the two of us, we seem to have done things the painful way. So let our pitfalls become your stepping stones. We are not afraid to share our raw and vulnerable truths in order to help you transform your thinking, your body, your heart, and your soul.
Combining over 15 years of functional medicine with brain-based habit change to lead you to create the life of your dreams, supporting yourself through all four bodies, physical, mental, emotional, and energetic, every step of the way.
We are transformation accelerators, wholeness cultivators, empowerment experts, speakers, authors, mentors, and change makers for a more loving world. By combining Dr. Alex's MD experiences
with Megan's mindset magic, we've helped hundreds of thousands of people transform their lives, and we can help you too. If you're ready to accelerate your transformation and have so much fun doing it, then stick around. We've got you covered. Quick reminder, this information is not meant to diagnose, manage, or treat disease. Always consult with your doctor, not this doctor, before making changes. Now let's get into today's episode.
Oh my goodness. That was so good. I just finished interviewing my current voice mentor, Tracy Goodwin. I have been in a program with her for 8 weeks now. She teaches the psychology of the voice. So it's a voice coaching program, although it is unlike any other voice coaching program I've ever heard of or participated in. And every time I talk to her, she connects another dot for me. So it's about the voice, and I'm sure everyone here is very aware of how much the voice is tied to your authenticity, your vulnerability, right? Like whether you feel safe to share. The voice and our voice story, something I dug into deeply with her, how I got to where I am with my voice, being a person who, mind you, was afraid to even answer a question at the dinner table as a kid. I did not like, my dad would have us go around and say, what did you learn today? Or what went well today? And I got nervous with that. So to go from that to hosting a podcast, speaking on stages, hosting 7-day events, right? A big shift. So it was cool to work. It's been cool to work with Tracy and see what those stories are, see what she calls masks, voice masks, discover my vocal superpower. I share that at the end of the episode, at the end of the interview. And I think you are going to absolutely love this interview and her. It's about voice, and it's really not, because it's about your subconscious stories. I feel like this plays into so well the honesty journey that I've been sharing. I actually started with Tracy. It was 8 weeks in, and the honesty journey started 3 weeks ago. So I think this primed me for speaking. It primed me for honesty, right? I mean, it's through the voice. So this has all just meshed together so well. Let me just read Tracy's official bio, which you won't need because you'll hear her voice and you can hear how authentic she is. It's so cool. I just immediately trusted her when I heard her. I immediately wanted to work with her. So that's what she teaches people to do. So Tracy Goodwin, owner of Captivate the Room and creator of Psychology of the Voice, has taught thousands of celebrities, professionals, entrepreneurs like me, even Supreme Court justices, how to transform their lives and the lives of their listeners with their voice by stepping into the power of their natural voice so that they amplify their authority and captivate the room. Tracy's unique approach, Psychology of the Voice, gets to the core of limiting voice habits and transforms voices from the inside out. Yes, it does. Absolutely. I can 1,000% agree to this. So Tracy holds a BFA from Baylor University and a master's degree. She has a new and noteworthy podcast, Captivate the Room, and is highly sought after speaker on stages around the globe. She just spoke recently at James Wedmore's event that I was at and all the different places. She is so fun to listen to. I know you're going to get a lot out of today. Please, if you love this episode, please take a screenshot, share to a friend. If you're willing to leave a review, that would mean the world to me. If you haven't yet, and you're a listener, a regular listener, or you just listened today and you like it, I know it's kind of annoying, but please, please do it. Would you be willing? Send us a screenshot. I'm pretty sure, depending on when this goes out, our team has prizes. People are winning stuff. So send us a screenshot. You can send it to at Becoming Zesty on Instagram or support@becomingzesty.com, whatever it is. And if you have not yet joined us for our January Habit event, we still have tickets January 19th and 20th in Virginia Beach. 2 days. Amazing community, amazing connection. We're ending with a sound healing to lock it all in. Speaking of sound, frequency, amazingness. And we would love, love, love to have you there. We'll put the link in the show notes. becomingzesty.com/Jan, Jan. All righty, let's get into the podcast interview. Hi there, everyone, and welcome back to the Zesty podcast. I am here with a special guest today, Tracy. Welcome, Tracy, to the podcast.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm really delighted to be here.
I am super delighted for you to be here. I've been spending a lot of time with Tracy in the last, feels like a long time, but maybe only 5 or 6 weeks. What has it been? I don't know.
I think we're at about 8 weeks now. I think this is week 8.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So I am currently in Tracy's program. You're going to get to hear all about what she does. And I have had huge shifts in the last 8 weeks, which many of you have recognized on the podcast in my voice. And today is going to be about the voice. So Tracy, I'd love for you to just share a little bit more about you. What is your actual title? And then how did you get into this field to begin with?
The hardest question has now been asked. What is your title? Because if I say voice coach, I hear the echoes of all the students over the years saying, whatever you do, don't call yourself a voice coach because that's not what you do. I work with the vehicle of the voice. I am a voice researcher and I transform lives in relation to the success that you're drawing in or not, the inner freedom you have or not, all based on sounds in your voice from the subconscious perspective, which is different than typical voice coaching. So that's my long version title.
It's totally different. And that's why I'll say I'm working with a voice coach. And then I feel like I need to clarify, well, not probably what you're thinking. We're going into our subconscious stories. We're going deep.
Yeah. A lot of times I'll say I'm a voice coach. And the response, which is an obvious one, is, oh, I did choir in high school. Or, oh, like speaking on a stage. And the truth is, I don't actually work with that many speakers on the stage. I work with a lot of people that end up speaking on a stage, but voice is voice. Voice is voice right now. You can never get on a podcast, never run a business. You're still using your voice.
Ooh, I love that. What led you to the voice?
Well, people will say, how did you get into this? And my response is always the same. I say kicking and screaming. And the reason is because I could not wrap my mind around how in the world was I supposed to be a voice coach? Because I was actually raised in a family where I wasn't allowed to speak. And there were a lot of catastrophic things, and that's being a little dramatic, but not really dramatic, that happened in my life up to the point that I became a voice coach. And so in my mind, even though there were signs everywhere that this is what I was supposed to do, including the way that I hear 7 layers of sound, I couldn't imagine doing it because I thought I would be a fraud. And I became an actor, I became a director, I directed plays all over the world. And this is Yellow Pages days, and people kept finding me to coach their voices. and my actors won awards for their voices. I didn't want to be an actor. I quit being an actor very, very early. And all these things kept happening around me coaching people's voices. And then one day I got it. I went, oh, I get it. This is why I was born into that family. That was the training ground, the mastery of what I can hear. That was something I mastered as a child, navigating an environment that I never really knew how it was going to go. So that's how I got into it. I started as a dialect person. I taught dialects to actors, and I took dialects away from business people. Interestingly enough, that's what we did 35 years ago. We don't do that anymore, thank goodness. And one of the largest companies in the world brought me in to coach their C-suite who had Texas dialects. And it was in that process and in that dialect work that I actually figured out the foundation of what I teach today. And at that point, I was all in. I moved to New York. I worked for Mike Nichols. I started coaching businesses, huge companies, entrepreneurs, and everything has been about research since day one. I'm absolutely obsessed. Today, I've done over 35 research studies, and I never, ever would have imagined that what I thought was the greatest challenge and cost me the most would actually be the greatest gift.
Wow. What did you hear in that room with the Texas accent?
Well, what really miffed me, for lack of a better word, was the setup on why they were bringing me in. And this was a huge company. And they all had Texas dialects. I'm from Texas. They had Texas accents. And they were concerned that they were not going to sound smart. And that's what miffed me the most, because I'm thinking, y'all are running one of the largest companies in the world back then. How is it that you're not going to be perceived as smart? I never heard the voices that way, but I could hear the layers of the internal noise. I could hear all the things that you hear me teach to, like where they're working from, voice masks. It just all hadn't been labeled yet, but it was centered around dialects. But it became so much more in that moment, because I can hear someone speaking and they can have a Texas dialect. I can hear how smart they are. In fact, I can hear when people have had years of therapy, but they've not done any voice work, because their voice, the therapy has not been transferred into the muscle memory of the voice to change the voice. The voice is still working old habits. But we have this perception around dialects and everything else. This person is, you fill in the blank based on something that we hear. And that became the fascination point for me, that a dialect, there could be a perception of a misrepresentation. But the truth is, that's the body of work, is that everybody's voice is misrepresenting them because of how the voice is created.
Wow. So that's what you're hearing. I know you've said, I forget how many seconds, but within 3 to 15 seconds, you are already hearing.
I already
someone,
know. I already know.
There's some bunch of stories. You know whether you trust them, you know whether you'd buy from them. And that's what you're hearing in that.
That's right. Because I hear 7 layers of sound. And it was actually a coach one time that had been a former student of mine, and I rattled off something about 7 layers of sound, and she said, What did you just say? And I said, oh yeah, I hear 7 layers of sound. And she said, I've never heard you talk about this. And I said, I don't, I just fix it. And she said, well, tell me about these 7 layers of sound. The 7th layer of sound, and if you think about layers buried down, the 7th layer is our real voice, with all the things that we are not revealing to the world. The first 6 are all our psychology of the voice things, all our voice masks, all the way we're protecting ourselves through sounds. I hear all of that. I can instantly say things like, oh, you're outcome driven. You're a problem solver. Oh, probably to the point of no time for idiocracy. You're outcome driven. Oh, you're a people pleaser. Oh, what are you trying to prove? I hear the whole thing. And I knew that I could hear that way, but I did a workshop about, 20 years ago. And this, maybe longer, this young man did a role play, and I looked at him and I said, oh, I get it. You fell in love with some girl and you moved down to Texas and she broke your heart and you don't know what you're going to do. You're thinking about moving back to the East Coast, Maryland, but you don't know what you want to do. You don't really want to go back to Maryland. You like Austin, but you got this whole situation going on. And of course, he looked at me and he said, how did you know that? And I said, I heard it in sound. And I looked around the room and I asked the people in the room who were kind of backing away, freaked out. And I said, did y'all hear what I just labeled? And they said, now we do. So then it was game on. And I spent 10 years studying, am I calling what is being processed in the subconscious of the listener? And I couldn't get it wrong. I was trying, actually, Megan, to get it wrong. But because I couldn't bear the thought of saying to somebody, they're processing you as condescending, and I was wrong. But that's how the brain, the subconscious, is processing sound and making decisions. And then we wonder why we're not having the relationship or the success or the sales or whatever it is, but we don't think about how our voice is being processed by the listener. And so it becomes this huge source of misrepresentation of our real, of who we really are. I had a client one time, she said, you're not doing voice, you're doing identity. You found my identity through sound.
Well, we're 8 weeks in and I know I've experienced this. So this is 100% true. And especially, I think everyone here, Tracy, is, they're following along with us. So they're interested in subconscious reprogramming and the work that we're doing on the beliefs. And that was the part that was so cool and fascinating to me, was that I can have shifted the beliefs and they'll still be heard in my voice. And so I remember saying to you, like, okay, so are we shifting the beliefs and then it shifts the voice? Or are we shifting the voice and then it shifts the beliefs? And I mean, your answer was somewhat both, right?
Both. It's both. And this is the problem with typical voice technique. And I don't mean this as a criticism, but I want to tell a little story so that this really drives it home. There was a man that came to work with me and he talked really fast. And he came in and he said, I already know you're going to tell me to talk fast. All the other voice coaches told me to slow down. And I'm not, because I know I go fast, la, 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 la. And off he went. And I said, I don't know if that's what I'm going to tell you or not. I need to know why you're talking fast. Well, we've started unraveling the internal stories that had the external habit in place. And it turns out when he was a child, they would sit at the dinner table. Dad would come home from work. He adored his father. There were several children. Mom and dad would talk during dinner, and then dinner would be over. And the dad would look at his watch and point to the child and go, your turn, go. And they would get a minute. And so I could tell him to slow down 1,000,000 times, but it wasn't going to stick until we could rewrite what was going on internally, like, I have to hurry up, I'm going to run out of time. So he was a business person. He was going into pitches and even speaking and all these things really, really fast. And that's actually one of the worst tactics you can do, of all the techniques. And he would go fast, and then he wasn't getting where he wanted to be. But we changed the story, and then I never had to tell him to slow down again. So I might have to take on a habit. I might take on the habit and let the habit rewrite the story. But that's the thing I think that becomes so important, is that people really understand that their voice represents the belief. And we don't know the story. If I'm listening to you and I hear, you don't think I'm going to buy from you, I don't know the backstory. I just know fill in the blank, and I fill in that blank. So we really have to do both. And I don't know, would you say that it's heavy on technique? I don't think this work is heavy on technique. I give you
Not at
something
all.
that works, but I don't, it's not like warm up, practice, do it again. It's just not that.
To me, it's a very experimental or embodied experience where you are doing the thing, real-time feedback, and then having the understanding. I know in the maybe second or third session, I remember you said, okay, everybody, time to share something. We just give 2 or 3 minutes. And I went blank and cried and went into that old story of if I'm put on the spot, what am I going to share? And actually discovered much more about my voice story from that, of like a brother who is just like, no, you will never share. I'll always talk over you and I'll put you down. So the voice had so much involved with it. And just realizing in that session, realizing that old pattern was enough to shift that.
Well, and that's really what we're doing. We're playing out what I call voice habits. So you in that example, and that, gosh, I'd forgotten about that. You don't even do that anymore. I had completely forgotten about that week too, but we could take the man that goes fast. He's got a voice habit of going fast. Going slow won't fix it, because we've got to look at that internal story. And the research, the very first research study that I did was the one that showed me before we're 5 years old, one phrase determines how we're going to use our voice the rest of our life. Now, I've since redone that study, and now what I'm seeing is it's before we're 2. We're putting on our first voice mask. And I don't think that it is intentional. I don't think your brother or my parents, or now maybe, but I think across the board, and I say this for all the parents who are panicking right now that they've screwed up their children, I don't want you to feel that way. I don't think my mother was wringing her hands going, watch me mess up her voice. I think we are not taught these things. I do not think we are taught the power of the sounds in our voice. I do not think we're taught to communicate. And we come out of the womb like little movie cameras. Why did I give people the silent treatment growing up? Because I was given the silent treatment. I didn't know why. I was just copying and creating a habit around, oh, when this happens, this is what you do. But really what got us here is not going to get us there, for sure, based on the data I see now. But I think to me, it's about internal freedom. I don't want you going, oh, well, I don't want you playing that story out that your brother knows more, is smarter, or your dad's story, or, whatever it is. That's what, to me, this work is about, which sometimes has nothing to do with sound.
Mm-hmm. What is the biggest blocker of the voice that you see? Is it related to these stories?
It's different with everybody. Voice stories are huge. Sometimes there is a core driver, which you and your people might think of as I would think do y'all have like a main belief? Sometimes there's one hardcore through line belief that a lot of other beliefs stem from.
Not necessarily one.
Not necessarily. Okay. Sometimes in voice, there can be a core driver, and that core driver might be, no one wants to hear what I have to say. And that one is going to show up all the time. But then there's all these other stories that come from our experiences, our parents, our siblings, bosses, relationships, Joe the doorman. Everybody's saying something to us all the time. And the subconscious is going, yep, okay, that'll hurt your heart. We're going to reframe this. I don't know if voice stories are where people are working from. Are that from a foundation level, those are two of the biggest things that I have to deal with. But I think the external biggest thing I have to deal with is voice masks. Let me pretend. Let me be a professional. Let me keep you happy. Let me prove to you I know what I'm talking about. I think when people say, I don't really like my voice, or I don't think my voice is working for me, they're referring to an external sound. We have to have both. And so it's really a tough call to say, is it the voice mask? Is it the internal voice stories or driver? Tomato, tomato, really. But I think more of a war happens with the masks because we don't hear them. We don't recognize they're there. If I start talking to you and asking you questions and you uncover a belief, it becomes very real. If I say, what are you trying to prove? You're going to go, nothing. With a needing to prove mask is how you're going to say it, and you can't hear it because your subconscious has trained you not to hear it most of the time. So that gets that, and then we don't want to let them go, because if we let them go, then all of a sudden, whoa, now we really are seen. Now we really are heard. Now I've really got to be uncomfortable. I don't, it's the funniest thing. People will, I want to work with you. These people aren't hearing me, Tracy. And then we get about 3 weeks in and they're like, I don't know what to do. They're hearing me. What do I do? I thought that's what you wanted.
A new problem.
Yeah.
Well, the peacekeeping mask was the one that really stood out for me, and it's been fabulous. The timing of everyone's been listening in the honesty journey, and the last podcast that I had with my husband, Nate, it really started though with the voice program with you. The peacekeeping mask was really opened up to me. And then that book specifically is all about the peacekeeper. So, is the peacekeeping mask, tell me how that plays out or what you hear.
Yeah. It is above all the others. It is the one I see the most, the one I deal with the most. I would say 8 out of 10 people are wearing, or maybe more, 8 out of 10 or 9 out of 10 of my people are wearing it's really a people pleaser mask. I tend to call it a peacekeeper mask because I think that I want my number one goal is always for whatever I say to be received, because that's the only way I can help you. And I have to say a lot of hard things. So I adjust that just a little bit rather than constantly people pleaser, people pleaser, people pleaser. I think it's received a little bit better. It is a bucket of things that are working against the listener, that are working against you. And I could have out people pleased anybody. There was nobody that could people please better than me. And I had to do this work myself. But people pleasing means, and a lot of it comes from societal implications. It means I have to keep you happy. I have to be nice. I have to be nice. Well, what do you really want to say? Well, I can't say that. I have to be nice. And so what happens is we have this, any mask feels like a piece of bulletproof glass between us. So I'm talking to you a certain way now. This is how I talk all the time. I may have a little bit more ramped up vocal energy because I'm excited to be here, but I can put on my professional mask. And now everything's changed, but I am a highly trained professional and I want to sound like a professional. So see, we put these sounds on. What a people pleaser is going to put on is, under no circumstances can I authentically show up as myself, because there's no way that's enough, because there's no way they're going to like that. There's no way they're going to just buy based on the fact that I'm really good at what I do. They're not about to listen. So we've got all these things. So in this people pleaser mask, peacekeeper mask, we've got tentativeness. Yeah, I can get you some results. Sounds like it. Well, my mind is saying if I tell them I can transform their life, they're going to think I'm arrogant, and I don't want to sound arrogant. So I'm just going to kind of diminish. Yeah, I think we could probably do some things. I know we could do it, but I couldn't dare express that. So asking for permission, people that have a lilt, everything becomes a question. And I can't really even do it without tilting my head. Everything becomes a question. They're processing, why are you asking me? I thought you were the expert. We've got justification, convincing, don't say anything. All of this is sounds. It's manifesting in sounds and is 100% blocking connection, which is the most critical thing people are seeking now. And that's a data point, not just a this is my opinion point. But we learn it as children, and it's really a survival thing in many, many ways. I got to fit into this tribe. I can't get kicked out of this tribe. Sense of belonging is how accents are created. I need to sound like a Texan so that I fit into the Texas family, even though I really want to sound Irish. But if I sound Irish, I'm not going to fit into the Texas family. They're going to go, what is she sounding like that for? But we pick this mask up because, in part as well, because society says we have to. And for women, there are societal implications on women's voices. There are societal implications on men's voices. And women are constantly trained to believe, I've got to be nice, or I've got to make them like me. Well, it's not nice to be direct. Oh, okay, let's look at that. So we've got all this. I'm so bold as to say the word indoctrination that happens that really says to us, you can be anybody but who you are. Just don't be you, okay? Just keep everybody happy. Keep them liking you. And those paradigms have shifted. And those are the scripts that I'm most excited about flipping right now. I don't have to have you like me for me to transform your life. And what is nice anyway? It's not at all what you think it is. That's my thoughts on people-pleasing mask.
So then, Tracy, what are the people hearing? So if I'm using the peacekeeping mask, the person listening to me is picking up essentially on a mismatch or lack of confidence, or right, that's what they're taking in, even if my words are amazingly crafted.
Ask me a question. I know you just asked me a question. Ask me another question. Ask me some simple question.
Like, what color is your sweater?
It's red. Okay. In my mind, I could have gone, well, if I say red, she's going to think I'm making fun of her red hair. And I don't want her to think I'm making fun of her red hair. So I'm going to go, it's red. When I really want to go, it's red. It's absolutely my favorite color. Kind of like your hair. You've got gorgeous red hair, but I'm not going to say that because I don't want to, and now we've got the cancel culture feeding into all of this as well. So this people pleasing has gone to a whole new level of don't rock the boat, whatever you do. Let's say I'm teaching a controversial topic, and controversial in my world is I don't believe in practice. I don't want my people, I like reps and I like the right kind of practice, but I don't do this typical, everybody's telling everybody to practice it. There's huge problems with that. But you could say to me, well, what's the number one thing that you really don't want people doing? And I go into panic mode because I go, oh, they're not going to like this. They're not going to like it. And they're never going to hire me. And then they're probably even going to send Megan some bad comments. And then she's going to be mad. And then, this whole spiral of how I'm going to end up homeless on the streets happens simply from a question about practice. So I might, if I'm a people pleaser with this mask, with these sounds, I would probably do a lot of buffering, which is filler words. I would probably go, well, here's the thing. It's like, well, kind of, a lot of people don't really look at it this way, and I kind of sort of see things a little different after having done this for a long time. I don't think it's always a great idea to practice. That might be people pleasing. What I'm really going to do is I'm going to say, here's the thing that is going to go against the grain of everything you've ever been taught, which is you've got to stop practicing. You can't rely on practicing because it's actually affecting your brain. And what it's training your brain to do is to go, okay, if I practice, I'm good enough. If I don't, I'm not. And the world is going to teach you to practice, but I'm going to tell you reps are good of the right thing, but building the illusion that, well, what's going to happen when you turn the corner and your greatest mentor and one of your favorite clients who doesn't know you says, hey, what do? What are you going to do? Are you going to go, hold on, I got to go practice? No, you're not. Okay, so that was an example of people pleaser version. I'm not people pleasing version. I'm owning what I believe to be true. because I've released the outcome of your judgment.
Mm.
And that is critical in voice. I am not worried about your judgment. Do I want you to like me? Of course I want you to like me. Am I okay if you don't? Yeah. Am I going to change who I am to make sure you do? To make sure you think I'm nice? No. I'm going to serve my purpose well. And you can't do both.
Mm. Asking permission was one of a really big takeaways I got from your group really early on. And from just some small thing I noticed of when we were required to, you asked us to post 3 videos this week. And I noticed I wanted to give explanation each time. I wanted to write this whole, oh, I chose this topic because blah, 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 or sorry, my hair's not brushed. I noticed this. And something you said early on about asking permission in the voice, I said, okay, I'm not going to do that in this group. And so I consciously, when I would want to explain, just decided not to. And it's so fascinating what happened as soon as I just decided not to. So is asking permission one of the most common things that you see?
Yeah. I think all roads in this work ultimately lead to the final destination is worth. And I think I don't lead with that in the marketing materials, as one of my students pointed out to me one time. And we got to the end of the class and she was like, you never mentioned worth in the marketing materials, but that's really what we've been working on. And it's about worth. It's about I am enough. It is about rejection and fear of judgment and fear of abandonment. And so when I am working when those are my drivers, then I have to ask your permission because I'm terrified not to. And there is a lot of ways that asking for permission manifests. It can manifest in what you're talking about is justification and giving me. I in a corporate group the other day. This person was justifying their belief in, and I went, you don't have to justify anything here. I mean, I just stopped her in her tracks because these are the habits that we've trained. Well, I know my hair doesn't. I wasn't even thinking that because we've built this concept internally that I have to keep everybody happy. I've got to people please. That's the only way I stand a chance of winning anything. And I already know what they're thinking. I already know it's not working in my favor. And so we go into this, and when we go into this asking for permission, this justification, let me tell you all the reasons why I really am worthy enough to stand here and say this to you. I don't want that. I want you coming out of the gate strong. And so we really are sewing up a lot of wounds. And I think that the voice is full of wounds. But what I hear people do a lot is, maybe they're doing the justifying or convincing or adding in a lot of words, but maybe they're turning everything into a question. It's really good. Is it? Because they're so terrified to not rock the boat. They don't want to rock the boat. And it all goes back to old proof. I rocked the boat when I was 3, and my pre-K teacher had a meltdown. I dropped Kool-Aid on the carpet, and my mother had a meltdown. Okay, it can't be that. You can't be yourself. Keep them happy, and then you won't get yelled at. Well, here's the bad news. You might get yelled at, no matter what. And you have no control over that. And that's another big illusion, I think, that's happening, especially with people pleasers, is it happens with everybody, but with people pleasers, we believe, we've bought into this illusion that if we can act right, we can control the outcome. We can't. I mean, I'll just let you have a minute on that. But we can't control the outcome. And that's part of what we're trying to do in asking for permission and justifying. And I won't even say anything is the extreme we get to. People that just won't even say anything anymore, which is devastating to me.
Mm. You said on our call today, I'd never thought of it this way, but adding a lot of detail for those of us, maybe me, who like to talk a lot, add a lot of detail can be a form of protection. Can you talk about that?
Sure. We're all trying to protect ourselves for two reasons. One, I cannot let you in, because surely if I let you in, you're going to find out that I'm not all that, because that's what I truly believe. So we have this protection. I got to keep you out. And then the second part is I have to keep myself safe. And this is where, when we talk about things like imposter syndrome, I'll tell you one that I hear all the time from, probably I have more data on women. They'll be in a corporate role and they're terrified they're going to find out, somebody's going to find out they don't have a college degree. All these things that we're protecting. We're protecting, I don't think I'm good enough. We're protecting, I don't think I'm smart enough. I'm protecting that I don't think anybody likes me. I'm protecting, you fill in the blank. Well, we're doing it in sound. And we go a lot of different ways to create these protection mechanisms. One is voice masks. Two could be shutting down, silent treatment. But one is, if I give all the details, then I will have so much information, I will overwhelm their brain and they won't even listen anyway. Here's an example. I could say something like, I really got my feelings hurt last week when people weren't signing up for my free training. Okay, now let's just take that right there and we could go, okay, that makes you look like you don't have a following. That makes it look like you don't even have a business. Who's going to sign up for somebody that nobody will even sign up for their free training? So my brain goes, which none of which is true. My brain will go, yeah, but if you go into like deep detail about all the things you're going to cover in the training and all the reasons why everybody should join, and you go on and on for 10 minutes, then they'll join. No, that was the slam dunk to ensure that they do not listen to anything you say. Because first of all, they have no clue what you're talking about. Second of all, the attention span of the human brain is 4 seconds. And here I am talking about the phalanges and the silver buckles on the black shoes. And I don't know if anybody likes the black shoes, but I really like the black shoes. But it was interesting the day that I picked the black shoes, because I wasn't thinking about it being slick. I mean, I knew it was raining. I had actually checked the forecast the night before and it said it's 78%. I mean, 78% might be. Okay, you see what I'm doing there? What do they want to hear? They want to hear you fell and were humiliated. Because not to make fun of you. Because that opens up a space where they can go, she's not going to make fun of me. And we protect ourselves from feeling, from from connection, from, yeah, I'm a human. Because there's so much in our world that says, no, you've got to be perfect. You better get those words right. You better act like you're a big deal. You better be perfect. And if you do, then they'll buy. No, actually, they won't. It's when you let go of the silver buckles and the black shoes and you talk about how you wept on the ground when the young man ran over to pick you up and laughed at you because it really crushed your soul. That's when they go, yep, that's my person. I don't know, that was kind of a roundabout way to answer the question, but hopefully I answered it.
Absolutely. I know the people listening, Tracy, they like something to do or something to hold on to. Is there some kind of tip you can give? A place to start? I don't know if it's a place to look or a practice, but what could you do to help? What could people consider doing just to help get started on the voice journey? It may surprise you. It may sound simple. You may be shocked that what I'm about to say actually has anything to do with voice. You have to be present in the conversations, because all your problems, in fact, your voice will not work on any level unless you are in the conversation. If I'm already thinking about, I wonder what she's going to ask me next. And then I wonder if she's thinking I'm doing a good job. I wonder if she's happy she brought me on this. I'm not here and my voice will not work. And all my insecurities and all my wounds and all my stories and all the things that I work from, they're in the past and the future.
That's why I can only have voice power if I'm right here in the conversation. And so every time you find yourself being off there, deciding that, right back in the conversation. And that alone can be a challenge initially because we don't spend time in the present mentally. We're in the checklist or in what they're thinking or where I've got to go next because we've made doing and busy such an integral part of our protection. But getting back right into the conversation, and I've had a lot of people, they've said, I don't have time to do that, Tracy. And of course, my response is, you don't have time not to. Because I know we're all busy. I like to do too. I'm obsessed with this work. I'm a borderline, okay, I am a workaholic, but I know this is where my power lies, right here.
So that's listening to the other person and being present, and then also being present when you're speaking.
Yeah.
So both.
Yeah. Listening has come up 3 times this week in conversations, classes, maybe because I've got a little email series going out and I sent out an email about listening. It is a very important lost art for the obvious reasons that how we want to make people feel. But what people don't realize is it changes the way you sound. And if I'm not listening to you, if I'm already deciding what I want to interject next to make sure I look good and sound good and you like me and everything's great, then my sound is going to be more angular and it's like handing you a metal box. But if I'm present and I'm listening and I'm pondering and I take my time to respond, my sound changes and it's like I hand you a ball. Now, which is close? Which can you draw closer? Which one can you really embrace? Which one you really want to snuggle up to? It's not the metal box. It's the ball. So we need to listen so that we can hand people a ball because they're potentially going to push the metal box back.
This is making a lot of sense. Sometimes some interviews where I've re-listened, where I'm interviewing someone, I hear a weird sound in my voice in the questions, and it's usually when I don't know them that well.
Interesting.
Whereas I feel like I can just talk to you because I didn't really need to prepare. I had a list and I knew it would flow.
Yeah.
And when it's like, oh, wow, this topic, I maybe don't know what to ask them. I don't know how they're going to respond. I don't know where it's going to go. And then I'm probably less present. That's really interesting.
And you know what I'd tell you to plug in there? I think I even said it today. I just trust that I'm going to know. Mm-hmm. It's building that habit. It's a new habit. Right now, we're working off a habit of, ooh, I've got Judy this afternoon. Judy doesn't like me, and she's really smart. Well, then I just automatically decimated my whole character and experience. Is it possible that Judy and I could have a great conversation? And these are some of the mental reframes that we do. We've got to rewrite some of that noise. And we've got to start working from a different place if we're ever going to meet that quest of authenticity and connection, which really is the quest.
I remember you saying that idea of reading the room and how much I can't remember the word, but when you're anticipating what people will do, what's that word?
Did I say tentacles out?
Maybe.
Was I talking about tentacles out? I'm not sure exactly how I phrased it, but we're taught to read the room. And this is a big problem. This is a huge problem, especially in sales. I've been trained to read the room. I've been trained to look at your face and decide exactly what you're thinking and then alter who I am because of what I think. And I tell people, I will say, well, the only way you can know what I think is if you ask me, but here's the thing, I could lie. We've got to stop giving our power away. I've got to bring I like the imagery of an octopus. I call it tentacles out, and I'm grabbing for something somewhere. Give me a sign that I'm doing a good job. Give me a sign that you like me. Because if you do, then I can keep being what I'm being right now. Well, I want y'all to bring your tentacles back in and trust that I am being it. And if I want to know what you're thinking, I might ask, But I also know you don't have to tell me the truth. And if you're a people pleaser, major people pleaser, and you don't want to upset me, are you going to say, I actually don't like your offer? No, you're not. So we've really got to bring our power back. And I'm going to work from this is who I am. If you don't like me, no problem. If you don't want to work with me, no problem. Getting okay with releasing that outcome is a big part of that.
Because eventually you'll get so much feedback that one person will like loud, one person will like soft,
Totally.
one person will like when you're funny, one person wants you serious, and then you're nobody anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're trying to accommodate to meet everybody. And that's why it becomes so important, like the work we're doing right now, that you're playing all the shades of you. So that if it's you, if you are funny, the funny guy hears it. If you are serious, the serious, we have all these shades in us that are buried under those layers that we're not letting out. We've got to peel away the layers so that we can then reveal all the shades of who we are.
Mm. Well, y'all can thank Tracy because she told me my voice superpower is laughter or joy. I forget how it was.
Yeah, it's fun.
Fun.
It's fun.
Fun. So I've been embracing that one.
Yeah, that is totally your voice superpower. And we have to lead with our voice superpower. And a lot of times we don't even reveal it because what if people don't like it? You see what a rubber band ball it all is.
And everyone's is different.
Mm-hmm.
Their superpower.
Yeah. I mean, there may be a lot of people that I hear them talk and I go, oh, yeah, you're real likable. Likability is your superpower. There's a lot of people that I've plugged in, they weren't making sales. And I said, yeah, because you sound like this, or you sound like that, or you sound arrogant. And I know you're not arrogant. There was a young man I worked with. He was coming across arrogant because he had an insecurity that he didn't know enough. He was the most likable young man I've ever met. And I said, okay, we're not doing that anymore. We're going to tap into this likable. Within days, he closed a 6-figure deal. Because he was no longer being inauthentic. He was no longer repelling potential customers with a sound that covered up an insecurity that he had. Now he was just being likable. And I trained him, I taught him, did the work with him so he could see that he would have the answers. We were talking about that earlier. We're so afraid of all the things that haven't even happened yet. And we're creating all these layers to make sure we're ready when they do. Well, nobody can ever know who we are if we're doing all of that. Plus, it sounds exhausting to me.
It is exhausting, Tracy. I've done it.
You and everybody else in the world. We've all got massive layers until we pull them away.
Right. Oh, this has been so good. Tracy, will you tell where can people find you? What do you have going on? What's the best place to connect with you? Because I know many people have reached out as I'd been sharing about this voice coaching psychology of the voice journey. So
yeah, everywhere I am Captivate the Room, except for LinkedIn. I'm Tracy Goodwin over on LinkedIn, but I'm captivatetheroom.com, Captivate the Room on Facebook and Instagram. That's the best place to find me. And I'm always posting about what's going on. I pretty much have everything honed into the group you're doing, similar to the group that you're doing. It's such a successful group that I'm not in this moment. I don't have it all figured out yet, but in this moment, I don't think I'm going to do anything else but this small container group in 2024. I do work with a few people privately, but I think the group is so good that that's really where I want people to go because I know how much they get out of it. And I'll run it again in January. I'm actually doing an enrollment soon for January, and then I'll do it a few more times in the year, but that's the best place. If you follow me on social media, you'll know what I've got going on.
Okay. Yeah, the small group has been amazing because as the group of us are all supporting each other and it is very small. So very small. You get many chances to
8 max. It's 8 max. And I generally stay with 6.
Yep.
but everybody works every week, and that's why it works. So so you really do get a transformation. It's not a theory thing. And I think we really have to have that kinesthetic piece. I strongly believe in that to override voice habits.
Right. It's been a breath of fresh air in that sense. It's just, I show up and I do the next thing versus, that old like kind of checklist, do the process. It's not like that. So it's just, you live it and you do it, and it shifts, and
it's very real time
realizations every week. So
yeah,
helps shifting the voice real time.
And y'all are great. I mean, y'all are such an amazing group. And I find that all the groups are, it becomes this incredible support system. And I think the first piece is the first day when everybody realizes I'm not the only one that feels this way, is already everybody's connected.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for being here, Tracy. I appreciate you and your time. I know this is going to be a very popular episode, so I appreciate you.
Yay. Well, thanks so much for having me. It was a great conversation.
Thanks for coming to hang out with us on the podcast. It is our goal to lead others through accelerated transformation that takes all parts of ourselves into account. And we need your help. We need your help to get the word out. At almost 2 million downloads and quickly heading to 3, we know that as this podcast grows, we're going to be able to reach more and more people and help them learn how all 4 bodies, physical, mental, emotional, and energetic, work so they feel empowered to be, do, and have whatever they want in life.
If you find this podcast helpful, please take a moment to text 5 friends you think might benefit and leave us a review. It means so much to share this work that has transformed our lives with others. We appreciate your help so much and can't wait to see you next time.